Welcome to iLearn ERP and the E1 Academy. My name's Todd Nelson, and today we're going to look at how to develop a role. We're going to take one of the roles that have been outlined in the UX1 Roles Guide, and we're going to go ahead and put that together. We're going to go into a generic environment that doesn't have any of the pre-built roles built, and we're going to use the demo data and the information that is in the system to build these roles. You can do this very simply with just knowing what the tasks are and using the pre-built demo data. This is a very good way for you as a business analyst or someone who wants to wrap your head around using UX1 roles to become familiar with the tools, become familiar with the different tasks that are involved, and then you can tailor those to your business so they work best for you. So I really recommend that you go ahead and build a few of these out, take a look at them, and then in subsequent videos we're going to show you how to change those and make those work for your process. So let's go ahead and get started. You can see that this is one of the UX1 roles right here on the screen that we have set up here. This is actually one for a payroll manager that I went ahead and built. You can see that I have the watch list pane on the left side. We have 4 programs which are showing charts of various items in the middle, and we have the springboard on the right, which has pre-built roles in that. You're going to go out to My Oracle Support, or you can just go ahead and Google and inquire on the UX1 roles, and it'll pull up the guide, and you can see that the guide looks like this. You can see that this is actually taking us to the one that we're going to build today. We're going to build a accounts receivable manager role, and this is all built within the UX1 roles guide. And you can just go into each one of these, and it breaks down the information pretty well. They do leave out a couple of key pieces of information which are important, and we'll go through how you get to those. So I'm going to leave this on one side of the screen so that as we go through this, you can see that where I found the information and how I build it. I'm going to move that out of the way. So to get started with, you can read all the other information here, but basically I mentioned just a moment ago that when we are in Enterprise 1, we have basically the 3 different areas we're going to build. And so we're going to build out each one of these areas. We're going to use just straight ahead demo data to do that. So let's go ahead and get into it. The first thing you're going to do, this is what it's going to end up looking like here for the accounts receivable manager. You can see it's got 7 different watch lists. We've got 4 applications that are showing charts, and these are all pre-built with the Jet Analytics components that are available through Oracle. So if you're in an environment where you have that information available to you, you can just go ahead and have that as long as you know what the program numbers are. Most of those always have an X behind them. You'll be able to pull in these applications and get these beautiful looking charts so that they work. The other thing is here on the springboard, there's a specific task that is built for this set of applications here that they already went ahead and built. If you go into Jeannie Edwards here, we'll take a quick look at this. If you go into any one of these, we use the Enterprise 1 menus and we drill into this. We'll go into Finance, Accounts Receivable, and down here you'll see that at the bottom of this menu, beneath the other areas, it shows UX1 roles. As I take a look at this, and if I take a look at this and go down to the last one just before we open this, you'll see that it shows this task number. And the task number for this specific one actually is G03B703. So I've written that number down, and I'm going to use that later on when we build our springboard, and it'll contain all. If you kind of look here on the right, it says payroll workbench, employee information, speed time entry, leave management, organization chart. It doesn't really tell you all of that. You can see all these sort of listed here, but you don't see any of that information listed when you go ahead and build the springboard. So I wanted to make sure that you write that number down as you get started, because that's an important one so that you can build the springboard that looks just like this. Again, you can change these later as you want, but this is for building any of the pre-built UX1 roles. All right, so our first step to building this, we'll take a look on here. So our first step in building this, we're going to go back and we're going to build our watch list alert, and it lists quite a few different ones here. These are already pre-built in our demo data, so all we have to do is look for these pre-built watch lists that are already built, and it appears that there is 7 of those. I mentioned that before, so we're going to just work our way through these and build those into our system. So just to note, all of the UX1 roles are just composed pages that have the special jet analytics built into them. So we're going to go and build a composed page, and this is what's going to create our role. So obviously here on the right, we're going to go to Compost Pages, and this takes us into our Composed Pages tool where we can use this to build our new page. Now as this pulls up, it's already defaulting to the last one that was used. We're going to use the Create feature here. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to add our watch list pane, and we'll just call this, our name will just say AR Manager, and then for our description we will actually spell it out. You may have a different convention for doing that. We don't want to pull in all of the existing watch lists, so we want to empty those so that we can pull in the watch list that we want. So after clicking that, you'll see that it is empty here, and anytime we hit the plus sign, now we can go ahead and we can pull in each of the watch lists that we need here. So if we look at our UX1 role guide here, we'll go ahead and begin to go through that list that I was showing just here a minute ago. So the first one we will look at is the invoice pay items overdue, and we just arrow down to it. And again, you see it's already there that listed. So this is already pre-built demo data that we can pull on. It pulls it in there. You're not going to see any numbers yet. It shows the question mark. This takes a few minutes to go ahead and load this after we finish creating the watch list and the entire UX1 role. So don't panic that you're not getting any information initially. The next one we'll use is the invoice batches and error. Pull that one in, and we'll just keep going. We got pending invoice batches, and the next one is invoice batches out of balance, and then we'll do receipt batches in error. Then we'll do pending receipt batches, and then we'll do the final one is receipt batches out of balance. So these are all of the watch lists that are going in our watch list pane, and now we're going to go ahead and build. If we look on the next page of the UX1 role guide, now we're going to put the charts that go into this next one here. When we're in the page composer here, we'll click on this. It's a little bit different than the first time when we used the watch list pane. Anytime you pick an item after you've built your first item, you have to click on one of these items and then drag and drop. So for our role to build these next set of charts, we're going to click on the Enterprise One application, and we're going to drag it to wherever we want it. I'm going to just drag it to the side here for now, and that will pull up our window to go ahead and put in the application and the form that we need. So we'll go ahead and put that in. So it's the P03B202X, and I said before, for any of these JET applications, the UX1 roles, we need to have these applications that actually have the X in them. That's telling us that these are UX1 types of applications built specifically for the UX1 roles. Then you'll see that it has a form number on here, and we need the W03B202XH. So we'll use the drop down to find that one. The very last one, and that is everything we need to do. We could change any of this other information, but we don't need to. Click OK, and now it's loading this up, and we have our first chart in here, and it already has information in. That tells us that everything is actually loaded in there the way that we need it. We're going to do our second chart, which is going to be average days late by customer. So we'll go back up to the top. Again, we're going to drag to have an Enterprise One application. You can see that it's not doing what I want here. So what I'm going to do is, before I actually add this, I'm going to take this and resize this so that the watch list is on the left side. Now I will do this, and you'll see that the application will go to the right side as I want it. Again, I can put it anywhere I want, but for this circumstance, I wanted to have it on the right side. And again, I'm going to put in the information for the application number and the form. So it's the P03B16X, and as I tab out of that, It's going to take a second. It'll load up. Now we want to have the correct form number, which is the W03B16XA, and that's already loaded in. That's actually the one that we want. So we'll click OK. You can see that this is very simple to do these. It takes very little time. It's just knowing the right forms and applications that you need so that you can load these in very quickly. Let's build 2 more here. And again, we're going to grab this application and I'm going to put it on the bottom below this chart that I already have here. And we'll load this one as well. All right, so you can see I've pulled that in, and the form we want is the XA one. So we'll just pull that one up and drop that in as well. And that is the receipts by customer application that we want. Click OK, that one's done. Let's do our final chart that we're going to pull in, which is going to be receipt trend by collection manager. And I'm going to drop that right here on the bottom. I can always resize all of these later. And I'll put in that number. And again, it'll often have various ones. And this is where you're going to be able to actually make the adjustments to the ones that you want here later on here. This is just how they are stock out of the box for these roles that have already been set up here. We have this now set up and in. We've got all of the charts that were part of this role that came from our guide that you see here on the screen. And so at this point, we're going to do a little bit of resizing just so that we get this to look sort of the way we want. Just going to make these so that they're sort of balanced somewhat. And again, the beauty of these things, you can always click on any of these items. You can also use your menus to drop down. And we do talk about that in another video. But now we have these approximately where we want them, and we're going to drop a springboard pane here on the right side. That's why I left a little bit of additional space on this right side so that we can put our springboard in here. We're going to take that number, which is a task number, and that is a collection of applications that were pre-built by Enterprise One that you can use to fill that springboard with the required applications that you would use to jump off. And if you needed to make changes, let's say you had something in here and you had late days by a specific company. We're seeing here under average late days for global enterprises, and we wanted to jump off of there and to go in and dig a little deeper as to why they're late. This is a very good means to making everything that we need right here in front of us, and to go in and make those changes and to take the actions that we need to based on the information that we have. So the last thing we're going to pull in is our springboard. Again, remember, you click and drag this to the spot you want on this page. I've put that over there now. And it's going to ask me, when I pull this up, we're going to call it our accounts receivable manager. And we're going to put in the task that we have here, which is going to be the G03B703. Now I'll go ahead and click on that, and let's see what it pulls in. All right, so it looks like it has pulled in all the information that we need here. As we've been following along here, you'll notice that it had actually done a few things for us here. The ones that we had wanted to have was the customer ledger inquiry, the customer receipts inquiry, the account balance inquiry, the account statistical summary. We wanted it to have managed customers, AR collections, and AR credit. So it pulled in all of the pre-built programs that were already in the pre-built role that we actually saw initially when we went out through the Enterprise One Navigator, navigated to that page where it showed UX roles, and this is all of the programs that were within that. If you tried to pull these in individually without that parent task number, it's not going to pull in what you want. It'll pull in just a massive number of programs that you probably won't need. So if you want to get the pre-built information to start with, this is really a great way to go with this. So now that we've gone ahead and done this, we're going to click on the Save As. It does need to be under product code 55, and we'll call this our accounts receivable manager. And we are ready to go. We're going to click OK to save this. Now this is going to be our pre-built UX1 role for accounts receivable manager. You can see that it still hasn't populated any information here in the watch list, and that's okay. We're not worried about that. We're going to see that as soon as we exit out of the Enterprise One page generator here. As soon as we get out of this program, you'll see that this looks right. Do a little resizing. It looks like the way that we want it. It does appear to be there may be something wrong behind the scenes with the receipts by customer, or it just hasn't pulled at this point. I can always come back in. You'll see that there's an edit part down here. We can do some edits to make sure this information is pulled in correctly. We can change these menus here by clicking on these. If we need to change the parent tasks here, can always come in, click on any one of those and change those. So very, very flexible. We also have the ability to move these out of the way when we close this page. Also, we have the ability with this to, right now this is a personal role that we've created, but we can request to have that published from up here on the top, and when that happens we can push that out to other users who may need it as well. Let's go ahead and exit out of here. Okay, now here it is. We've built that page, and if we go back to our original UX1 role implementation guide and we take a look at what this is supposed to look like, you can kind of see it looks somewhat like this. The only difference is when you're building these, sometimes if you don't build the springboard before you do some of these charts, you're going to see that when I come into here, it's on a ledge like this. It's up in this upper quadrant here. That's something that they were able to fix in the way that they built them behind the scenes at Oracle. But for our purposes, this works just fine. We can always move these out of the way as we want. Any of these we can move out of the way if we like, and you can see that by at the top of the page there's this little arrow here, and if we wanted to just get this out of the way, we can click on that. So here is our Accounts Receivable Manager UX1 role that we just built, and you can see that now the watch list is populated with information here, and it has all the pieces that are supposed to be there, the 7 watch lists, the 4 charts, and it has our springboard populated with all of the tasks that we wanted it to have on the right hand side. So hopefully this will be very helpful for you if you are in the process of beginning to build UX1 roles and explore how they may be useful for you as a citizen developer. Feel free to visit us at the E1 Academy or at iLearnERP.com. Find out more how iLearnERP can help you to become a citizen developer.